and some of the Oracle authentication tools.
Right.
How about differentiating yourself against a couple of the other SaaS identity managements?
Like Simplified and
Simplified
Ping.
ping,
Right.
exactly.
Right. Some of them have been around for 7, 8, 9 years, so their products are already slightly dated. We just had Sheepdog, which is the largest Google Apps integrator in Canada, replace us with Ping. Replace Ping with us,
right.
because they thought they were hard to work with, difficult, expensive, not the easiest to use application. So I think that every software application has a life cycle of 10 years or something like that. So there's room for newer players where they just have a different take on it. And we don't come at this from a security angle, not at all. We worked with Zendesk where customers really loved the app because it was so easy to use. It's like a car. All cars have the same features, but some just handle better. And so that was a major part of Zendesk's success. And so we wanted to build an application that was easy to use, and then we just made it really secure afterwards. But that wasn't the starting point.
I had a question around the integration effort. So we're as a large bank with a history of lots of M&A, a big M&A snowball.
Right.
We have the same IAM problem every year after every acquisition, and the most costly part of remediation seems to be the integration at the app level. Can you comment on kind of what it takes to get an application fully onboarded with this for identity?
An internal app or?
Sorry?
An in-house application or?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I think companies like you have two different challenges. You have the applications, but also directories. What we see is companies that grow by acquisition, it takes them a year or more to integrate the directory from the acquired company. So we can support that. That's the easiest part. But also for the application piece, actually we handle that by handling some multiple directories because all the users just flow into our application and then they can sign in. So that's actually not the biggest challenge. It's more the directory piece.
Okay.
And that directories are just inherently dirty. There's a lot of junk data in them.
I was also curious when you're talking about multi-factor authentication. Maybe this is covered with one of your partners, but are you doing anything around biometrics, vascular scanning?
It's not. We've only heard that requirement once from a police station.
Twice.
Okay, not twice. We don't support any biometric authentication factors yet. I think it's more a question of finding the right partner. But we teamed up with Vasco, who are the leading player in this space. They have almost 1,800 banks worldwide that they provide authentication for. And they actually don't have biometric authentication yet.
What about like one-time token cards, Gemalto cards, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we support Fire ID and Symantec via PXS. And also Intel this year is shipping a new chip that has it built into the chip. It's called VeriSign Identity Protection. So the way it's going to work is when you visit a whitelisted login page, and we're going to be one of them with eBay and PayPal, an application is going to pop up and do the strong authentication automatically. So it's really seamless for the user. And that's what we see the requirement for the most. It's not so much biometric. It's a little bit more tricky to manage.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm curious, where do you, when you think about the application, where do you feel that you've developed the most core IP? Is it in the connectivity to the various SaaS applications? Is it in, have you done things to innovate on the kind of core directory repository? You referenced UI and ease of use, but how do you think about where you have and are going to really kind of focus on developing deep IP, because the sort of traditional ID management vendors are all, it's going to be clear to them that they need to kind of functionally extend to support cloud-based applications are just another target relative to internal applications. So,
well, I think once you have an application that has a large installed base of customers, it's really difficult to change it. You can't just put lipstick on a pig. We're working with some companies that have Tivoli in place, and they can't even get a quote from IBM on what it would cost to connect Tivoli to Salesforce. And plus, they have to work with central IT on how to do it. So what happens is some of these things grow out of regional organizations, and because they will find a way. If corporate doesn't want to play along, the local organization will.
You talked about kind of your target market, and I think you said that 5 to 15,000 users is what you've been.
Right. Originally, we said 50 to 2,500 users, but now we have had an influx. We just got covered by Gartner Group, and so we've had customers come to us with like 10 or 15,000 users and say, "Well, Gartner recommended you." So we're doing pilots with some brand names.
What would it take to expand above that threshold? You know, what's the limiting factor?
Technically, for us, it's not such a big problem. I think it's more, those companies' comfort level about putting things in the cloud. Plus, many of them don't have a lot of data in the cloud already. They might be doing Taleo or something like that. Actually, talent management is and we talked about that, is one of the apps where people, but they only exist in the cloud. And that's actually a big driver. Even the conservative companies, they will be dragged into the cloud because that's where companies are building applications these days. There's no on-premise alternative in many cases. And you're going to kill me now.
Do you host actual directory information then in the
Yeah,
cloud
but
for enterprises?
We do, but with SAML, there's no password we're managing, so that's a good thing. All right?
Great. Thank you.
All right.
John.